Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to City Skylines Industries. I certainly hope you're having a wonderful day, because I'm certainly excited to be back. Things, well, they're going pretty well, I have to say. Currently sitting on $3.5 million, making upwards of $20,000 per week. We have a population of about 35,000 people, and we have some demand for some things. But that's not all. That is not all. It has been about 2 weeks since I last played City Skylines. I went to California, I went to TwitchCon in San Jose, I met some of you guys, and it was a pretty good time. I then got home, found myself feeling a little bit sick, and found myself realizing that Red Dead Redemption 2 had been out for almost a week, and as such, I wound up playing and live streaming that rather than playing City Skylines. And can I just say, Red Dead Redemption 2, it's probably going to be my game of the year. Just FYI, it's very good. Now, enough about that. Enough about Red Dead Redemption 2. There have been some changes since the last time we were here. This right here is obviously the oil mining and refining area. You might notice that traffic is a little bit crazy in here, and I'm going to be completely honest, I don't actually remember what is specifically different from this episode to the last one. So I'm going to walk through what I roughly remember doing before I went to California. So I added in a roundabout down here, a large, kind of 10 by 10 by 10 by 10 roundabout. I used to have a roundabout up here as well, because this little road that leads over to the cargo train terminal used to actually connect to this junction, and we had a roundabout, and I put a bunch of timed traffic lights in there as well, but the whole thing just didn't work. Traffic was awful, so what I've done instead is gone ahead and looped all of this traffic sort of back and around, and it comes down to this avenue and does its thing with this roundabout, and that seems to work very well, actually. It stops traffic from backing up too much over here, unless it's leaving the area via these roads, in which case it absolutely does back up. Now, the reason it does that is because at this junction, I have gone ahead and said this traffic gives way to inbound and outbound traffic, which is completely intentional. I've also done some lane management there, as you can see. Basically, what I've done is said traffic leaving via this road or coming in via this road gets priority, because I don't want traffic backing up down to the roundabout or back out onto the highway. I would like to come up with a solution over here. I'd like to figure out a way to get this traffic to not go crazy, and honestly, the way to do that might be to just have more exits. It's definitely a possibility. We might need to bring the highway sort of around and over to here or something like that, but that's something for another day, because there have been some changes elsewhere as well. Over this way, you might notice that the traffic is going kind of nuts. That's something we're going to be dealing with today. It's definitely not something I want to keep staring at and keep pushing off, but I've made some slight changes to the terrain here. It's all a lot smoother, and I've done that with the terrain editing mod as opposed to the inbuilt one that you get in the regular City Skylines game, I suppose. The tools in the game are from the map editor, but they have the whole soil thing, and you can't change the size of the brush all that well, or the strength or anything like that, so I turned this mod on because it's just going to make my life so much easier. And because I just wanted to smooth this whole area out and flatten the top of this hill a little bit, because today we are going to get started on the new main bulk of the city. I mentioned a few episodes ago that I would really love you guys to send in your submissions and your ideas for what we build in this area. I held the camera out like this, I think, and said, hey, screenshot this, go into Paint or Photoshop or whatever, draw up some designs, send them to me on Twitter, send them to me on Discord, and oh my god, you sent a lot of ideas. Wesley Honing on Discord sent in something that just sort of blocks out a bunch of districts, saying that there should be a mountain village in the lower right with some expensive beach housing going along what we'll currently call the Well, I guess that's technically the northern coast, but it's at the bottom of the image, so we'll say the southern coast there. Some regular districts right in the middle, while keeping the sort of shape that we have already. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna be keeping that shape. It is an utter nightmare to work with. Some self-sustaining district up above with leisure and tourism on the top beach there, with more regular districts to the left side and suburbs across the water on the other side. I like the idea of the expensive beach housing and the leisure and tourism being near the coast on the other side as well. I think that's something we'll probably end up doing, and that's something that actually continues through a lot of the submissions that we were sent in. For example, Drago Hooves on Discord said the same thing. Beachfront housing at the bottom there. This time with IT offices behind it and then a shopping district. And then we actually put a transit hub sort of above that as well, which I think is a pretty good idea. I definitely want a transit hub somewhere. The lower sort of bottom right of the entire area is essentially going to be a tourist trap with an airport and observatory and all that kind of stuff. I do like the idea of getting an airport in here, but I don't know if I'd put it right in the city. That said, we could get a little bit cheeky and do an airport in the style of London City Airport, which I believe is essentially on the river. So we could maybe do something with an airport on the left side, although in this image we've got a university, motorways, and helicopter services off on the left side, so we'll see what we do there. As for the slums at the top, I don't know about that. The_53 on Twitter said that we should have a suburb with bus connections and no grid at the top. We should have tourism, leisure, low-density residential with tram and bus connections, and again, no grid on the upper beach right there. We should have a city center with commercial and offices, tram, monorail, and bus connections, and an absolute grid right in the center, which I really like the idea of doing. That is going to be at least part of our city center. Left side should be green high-density residential with bus and tram connections and a light grid. Down at the bottom should be an IT cluster. Actually, the second person saying that we should have an IT cluster down by the shore with monorail connections and a grid. And then a nature reserve that has a bus that goes to the bottom of the mountain and a cable car that takes you from there to the top. I really like that idea and think it could be really nicely combined with an observatory at the top of the hill. _TCMG_ on Twitter coming in with another colorful design right here, saying put some docks and industry up at the top, have some tourist stuff around the mountain and down on the lower beach as well, throwing some commercial right in the heart of things, right in the city center, again with housing inside of the blue areas as well. This is something we'll absolutely be doing. I think the general consensus is that a lot of commercial stuff, a lot of the city center stuff does need to be right in the center of the island. And then, of course, putting a lot of tourism stuff on the beaches. I really love the idea of putting some proper tourist stuff. Can I try saying that again? Tourist stuff on the beaches. That's something that everybody, almost everybody, has said we should do. So we're probably going to do that. Luna Pikachu 2 came in with one of the most detailed designs that I've seen, along with a key in the top right of the image, which is absolutely essential. This is nuts, this design right here, and I absolutely love it. It's really, really well done, including some highway ideas for how those come in. We've got districts in here. We should turn the entire lower left part into a national. It's just, this design is one that I absolutely adore. I'm going to take beats from, but the exact layout is going to be near impossible to copy exactly, I think. That said, this is an image I'm going to be coming back to quite a lot. This is nuts. Luna Pikachu 2, fantastic work. By the way, that's on Twitter. I don't know if I mentioned it was Twitter, but this came in through Twitter. And then Eagle Max KR on Twitter as well. Another super, super detailed idea right here. Again, a key up in the top right saying, you know, put a nature reserve on the mountain, tourism in the lower area, a port and industry right up at the top. This is just fantastically well done. I absolutely love it. And Again, I'm going to be lifting ideas from it. You know, having the main area, having a city center right in the middle is something I absolutely want to do, and something I think we are absolutely going to get started with today, and something that's probably going to take at least a couple of episodes to do. So let's get into it. I do want to mention before we get started that I did actually spend about 3.5 hours tearing apart my entire city and building some stuff. And I actually wound up deleting that recording because it was just very tedious. Just as a general tip, even if you have $3.5 million, deleting your entire city center at least and trying to build it up again is going to be tricky. $3.5 million doesn't go all that far when you've got minus $50,000 per week. It really doesn't stretch all that far, which is why we are actually going to be keeping all of this for the time being and starting some construction over this way, because this thing needs to make money while I'm building things. Otherwise, this just ain't going to work at all. It really isn't. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I think, is just leave that for the time being. It does have its issues. There are demands for things here and there, and the money does occasionally dip down quite a little bit as well. I'm honestly not too worried about that. 3.7 million while still making money is actually going to go quite a long way. So what I'm going to get started with is adding in the city center, because that's something I absolutely want to have in here. And the city center is going to be about here, actually, because this area is quite flat, and that's kind of important to me. So, city center, we'll go ahead and do a stretch of about, let's say, 10 there. And I'm going to switch out for no trees on this stretch of road, just so I can measure this a little bit easier. So we'll do 30. That seems okay. We'll go 20 down, we'll go 30 across, and we'll go straight back up like that. And this is basically going to be where I add in a certain building, that certain building being the oppression office, which I don't know if it fits perfectly central. It actually doesn't fit perfectly central, which is okay, because I can make it fit perfectly central. What I'm going to go ahead and do is throw a bit of a... Let me pause the game for a second. Going to throw a... What is this? The amusement park path down that side. And I'm going to throw it on that side as well. And you can see the oppression office, not really all that central, but that is totally fixable with move it. So just going to move the oppression office into roughly there, which is about the middle point. And then bring this path across using anarchy, and then it looks like it's just a nice little decorative path in front of what is essentially the city hall. So we can do that kind of thing. We can probably go back and say... Let's put a path back here, which I think looks kind of neat as well. I want to go ahead and just grab those 2 points and move that path. Actually, that path's probably okay. So we'll bring this path in a little bit as well to about there. We'll go to this side. We'll bring that path in as well. And don't worry, this entire build isn't going to be super detailed like this. I just want to get the city center right before we move on from it. So what I'm going to do is bring this down to about there, and I think that's going to be fine. So I'll go ahead and bulldoze those bits of path and actually bring these out again to about there, and this one should be to about there. And then what we've got is a way for people to walk from one side of the city hall sort of block to the other. And if we really wanted to, we could put another building back there, which I guess we could look at. I mean, we have some options. We've got some weird looking buildings. We got like a tower thing here, which could be very interesting. We've got some other towers as well. I believe we need a water treatment plant to get the tax office, but the tax office could be quite nice. We've obviously got some parks and plazas and all sorts of things. What is this, an official park? We've got the friendly neighborhood park, the fountain of life and death. We've got all sorts of things that can really go in there at some point. The Statue of Wealth actually might be one of the best fits for it, actually. I might say we'll keep the Statue of Wealth there at least for the time being. Let me also just go ahead and say bring a path out to there and out to about there. That should be all right. We'll bring it out a little bit further just so it touches the curb, and so that this one, it's already touching it. So there we go. That's going to be the city center area-ish. And what I want to do with that is basically go ahead and say that traffic can come into it from here and exit it right there. And then I want to put another one-way road around it. And the one-way road surrounding this is going to be a 6-lane one-way road. So we'll go 3 there. We'll go 11 here. And down to about here. I need to measure this out properly. So what might actually be a good idea is 10 and 10. And then 11 right there. So that'll make life a little bit easier for me. Go down to here, go straight across. And just out and around like that. So that's going to be our city center area. And a lot of these areas are going to be built pretty much as a grid. It is going to be a series of just big squares, and I'm going to be doing a lot of district work, because something I want to do with this is make sure that the old town policy exists so that people are actually being pushed out onto avenues and highways and all sorts of things. I don't want these little side streets being used as a means to go wherever. I don't want that being a thing. So hopefully we can avoid that being a thing. I also reckon maybe changing that bit of road into one that doesn't have grass on it could be a good idea, because it means that people can actually cross there. So what I could actually do is throw a path, let's see, right about there and right about there. And then we can just do the same thing. It'd be nice if that connected in a good way, but unfortunately it doesn't. That's all right, though. Let's just do this and down like that. Bulldoze those. And I guess technically I could connect those, but what I think I'll do instead is something like this. So just that, and then bring you in, bring you over, and it's not the neatest thing in the world, but it sort of works. We'll bring this down a little bit so it touches the park that we have. Bring these two down as well so they touch the park. And that actually looks all right to me. That actually looks okay. I think that works just about. It borders it pretty well. These two could probably be made to border the road a little better. I actually wish the paths did this by default. I wish they actually did touch the curb like that, because it looks so much better. But anyway, there we go. We've got our paths that lead you through. You can get up to this building, you can go wherever you want to go, and you've got some points at which you can cross the road as well, which is probably a great thing. Now let me just test one little thing. If I do this, it's going to bulldoze those roads, so we'll leave that alone for the time being. That's perfectly fine. So that's going to be our city center. Around that, I actually think we should do some shopping areas. So what I want to do, down here could actually be an IT cluster with houses in the bottom side of it, or, well, tourism and leisure. An IT cluster with commercial and the beach side, actually, that could be an idea. Either way, what I'm going to do is bring a road down here, let's say about 20, and about 20 here as well. And I think we'll go about 20 up, and like that as well. And what I want to try and do, I think, is go, let's say, 30 that way. We'll go 30 that way and just connect those. And that's going to be, that's quite a large block, but what we can do is pretty much split it right in the middle. Now, if we go to road guidelines, this is the midpoint right here. So that's going to give us a decent amount of avenues to force people around, which is exactly what I want to do. So something like this. Obviously, we get a little bit of weird stuff going on with hills and all that here, but that's okay. And then what we can do is actually continue this one straight across we can put some offices in here, then start doing some leisure and tourism down at the bottom. And all of this is going to have highway connections too. This isn't all just going to be avenues. So what I'm going to try and do, I think, is maybe say that we have a highway going on this side and on this side, so that the city center is going to be surrounded, essentially, by some decent highway connections. So if we were to go ahead and say, bring a highway off of here, or sorry, an avenue off of here for about 20 units, and off of here for about the same distance. Then we do the same thing on this side. I'm actually thinking of turning the game music off right now. It's getting really intense. But if we do that, what I'm thinking is we then use these spaces here as room for a highway to go over, rather than space for buildings. And then we can have highway connections to these avenues. Now, obviously, those aren't going to be super efficient. I know those type of connections are pretty rough. But I think if we have enough of them, it will be okay. So what I think we do is we'll go in and we'll start looking at the highway. And I'm going to use 2-lane highways just because I think they look better. And we'll go straight up. We'll start here. And we'll go here. And we can actually put buildings between these if we want to. Now, I could put these right against each other, but I'm going to keep the default game spacing. Just because I think that's going to serve us a lot better. So something like that. This could then continue down to there. This one can go up to there. This can go to that point, and this can go to that point. I can level those out and make them all even a little bit later, but right now I'm not too worried about that. We'll go ahead and just do exactly the same thing on this side. And when this all links together, what I'm hoping I can do is basically have a system where some people will get on the highway to cross the city and some will stick on the avenues to cross the city, because there's going to be enough of them that they have those options. There's going to be enough places that they can go where those options exist. Now, this right here is kind of my concern. This is actually going to be a really, really short kind of distance in that road, so we're going to have to... We are going to have to be careful with this. I might actually want to extend that, but I think I'll take a chance. So we'll go up by 10 there. We'll go up by 10 there. We'll go up by 10 there. And the same right about here. And like I said, this is going to be something we try and do everywhere. This is going to be something we try and do on every side of this. So it is going to be... Well, it's going to be interesting, to say the least. It's going to be made a little bit easier with Road Anarchy, though, so let's just hope for the best, I guess. Alrighty, so this is what we're looking at the moment, and I slightly changed the design, as you might be able to tell. I decided to not double up the intersections on these roads and the sides. The ones down here have been doubled up a little bit, just because I kind of felt like it. I also need to actually go in and change those roads so that they're the 1-lane version of those rather than the 2-lane. And I think I can also go ahead and just change these out to be 1-lane as well rather than the 2-lane versions, just because I think that's gonna save us a little bit of space, which is probably for the best. Whether or not that actually ends up looking as good throughout the city, I don't really know, but it will just lend itself to slightly better traffic control, because what you end up with is a dedicated turning lane without having to do anything too crazy with any of the traffic management stuff. So that'll hopefully work out. That's going to give a lot of connections to the highway for people. I realize that the super short junctions are gonna kind of be hellish, but I'm hoping that we can make that work. I also do want to change out these bits here because that's kind of crazy in terms of a slope. So I'm kind of tempted to maybe see if I can just tweak that a little bit. I mean, maybe if I select that one and just select all of the nodes along this road, I would hope I can make that a little bit better. First off, let's make sure they're all the same height, which they now are, which is ridiculous. We'll lower it down like this. And yeah, that gives us some weird stuff with the slopes there, but that's kind of okay. This one here is going to need to be lowered further though, so I'd like it to kind of be level as well. And then we do have a little bit of a hill here, so what we can do is just very, very slightly tweak that. Very, very slightly tweak that. And we just have something that's a little bit more gentle. There's still a noticeable hill and all that, but it's not as bad as it could have been. And what we can do is actually go through here and say, let's just tweak this bit of road. So number one, it's all the same height. Number two, we just lower it down slightly. And then I think a little bit of smoothing right here on a slightly smaller brush, a significantly smaller brush. And there you go. It's no longer as steep as it otherwise would have been. And I think that just looks a little bit better. It just works better. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot of traffic lights here right now. And these bits down here are actually quite steep too. So maybe we want to go in and say, you know, grab that one, and just raise them up a little bit. So they're kind of level. Again, ever so slightly messes with the terrain, but that's totally fixable. Let's just select all of those nodes, level them out like that, and do a little bit of terrain editing just to keep it nice and smooth. So there we go. Just hiding our crimes with the good old smoothing brush. So what I think we're going to want to do here is start bringing this highway up and around, because I'd actually like to connect it up sooner than later. So we're going to have to come in here and start tearing some of this area apart, which is probably for the best, because this roundabout is a bit of a nightmare. So let's start by tearing out some of this zoning, and let's start by tearing out some of this zoning as well. Probably going to need to get rid of all of this, actually. So all of that can go. That does get rid of the power connection for the city, I realize. So let me just keep the game paused while I do this, otherwise we are going to have some serious problems. So let's go ahead and just take all of this highway out of here. Right back to about there. Take all of these power lines out. And ideally, I would put a cloverleaf in here, because I think a cloverleaf is probably the easiest way to not have to get rid of this, because I kind of like the quarry, to be honest. I know it's not, like, the nicest layout in the world, but I do like it. I think it's decent. So I'd really like to not have to completely get rid of it. But I'm just not sure. Let's see what we can do with the Cloverleaf Junction anyway. Let's take a little look here. So is it actually going to fit? It actually is, which is beautiful news. It doesn't really lend itself well to what I'd like to do with the quarry, but I think I can make that work. It's also... It is actually going to work without anarchy on, which is beautiful news too. Now it looks... it looks dreadful, actually. All these little bumps and slopes and all that stuff are... well, there's something, is what they are. I wonder if I could maybe make that look a little bit better. Let's see here. Take those out. Let's bring a little bit of highway here. Let's just lower this and say, do that, do that. That, I think, looks a little better. It's obviously not perfect, but I think just the slightly more gentle slope is much better. Let's just, you know, get them to be completely even here, because that's kind of important to me. I think that's better, at least. I could probably raise you up a little bit, and then these two just slightly more. Yeah, I think that right there is a better approach. It would be nice to raise this up, I think, just to make, you know, the slope there a little bit less extreme, like this bit here, but then I have to raise all of this up again. So, I mean, something like that, perhaps, and then something like that. I think that's still okay. I could raise this one up a little bit too, just to, yeah, I think that's okay. I think that works. Just a nice little gentle slope leading up to the Cloverleaf. Cloverleaf itself, absolute nightmare. Absolutely going to be a nightmare to navigate that kind of thing. But it works, so it's fine. Let me just select all of these and level those out a little bit. Try and just get some decent slopes in here. So something a bit like that. Maybe raise you slightly more. This one here could probably be the same height. Absolutely can be. That's actually looking all right to me, which is good. Over here is probably needing a little bit of work, I think, just to look a little bit better. There we go. Up here's fine. Like, this is all okay. It's a bit bumpy, but it's nothing major. It's just this lower part I really don't like. Let's just smooth that out as well. So there we go. That's all smoothed out. Let's take out this zoning and let's see what I can do with this cloverleaf. So connect those two together and get rid of you. And then we're basically going to need to snake the avenue around here, which is always fun. So go 5 units and 5 units. We'll go 5 units here, if I can get away with it. I don't think I can get away with that. That's actually going to be kind of nuts. Let's see. Something like this. Turn on the guidelines. And that. That's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. That's okay. That, I'm actually going to allow that. Okay. That's a nice twist. I didn't think that would, I genuinely didn't think that would work. Okay. That's not so bad, actually. Let's do a little bit of lane management just to make sure this plays nice. Let me also change some of this out. So this bit here is going to be all 2 lanes. These are 2 lanes as well. These are obviously going to be 2 lanes because everything, we're only using the 2-lane highways. We're not really using the 3 lanes. So that should be a single lane. That should be a single lane. So should these, and so should those. Because then the highways automatically have their turning lane, which is fantastic. So I think other than needing to change this part, everything should be good for traffic to sort of just keep flowing there. Whether or not it flows better, we're going to have to wait and see, but it should just keep flowing. Now let's go ahead and bring these roads down to about there and about there. Let's bring these roads out a little bit. And let's see if I can just connect these up in a decent way, which apparently I absolutely can. So there we go. That's still connected. We've still got room to bring the power line straight through, which is particularly fantastic. So let's keep the power line at a nice, consistent sort of spread here. Go every 10 units and put a pylon in. I wonder if I can turn off angle snapping here. I absolutely can. All right. And right there. All right. That, to me, looks pretty good. So let's see how traffic actually flows on this. Oh, this area here is not actually going to have power, is it? Oh, it does. It has a geothermal plant. Well, that's interesting. I actually forgot we had that. Let's go ahead and snap you to there. And let's just see. So traffic is... well, it is actually moving, which is beautiful. That's exactly what we want. Now, a lot of it is behaving in a particularly interesting way. Let's maybe say that you stay in the left lane, you stay in the straightforward lane, and then they merge in the bridge. Now, that's going to be its own issue. Obviously, traffic is just having major issues getting into the town, and I'm actually looking at it and realizing that issue could probably be solved if I said go into the junction. That'll probably help it a little bit. Part of the problem is obviously traffic is coming off of a very fast-moving road, going onto a much slower-moving road, but allowing it to enter the junction will probably help. I think we'll probably want to do the same thing here and there as well. And that's fine. Okay. So all of this industrial traffic down here can keep moving. The only issue is apparently we had a bus line here that is not having a good time. Now, where does that bus line need to go? Is what I'm wondering. Did it have a stop out here? It did. Alright, so the bus line can just go about its business. There we go. We've solved that problem. Which is beautiful news. So yeah, we'll let this traffic move. Hopefully, we've helped it a little bit. Obviously, again, a lot of the traffic entering junctions is part of the problem, but this whole area is not really my main concern. I'm not too worried about whether or not it works. What I'm worried about, and what I want to do, is get this highway connection in here. So let's go to this road, and let's start raising it up. I probably should get that parallel roads tool. There is one of those on the workshop, and a lot of people pointed out to me that I should have included it in my video I did on 3 great City Skylines mods. I do want to mention, actually, if you want to see more videos like that, let me know. And also, just because I didn't put a mod in that video doesn't mean I don't like them. It doesn't mean I don't like the mod. It just, you know, it's just a mod I don't think needed to be in that video. Like, the point of the video wasn't like, these are my favorite, it's just these are 3 that I think are super good and that I think anyone will find a lot of fun with and a lot of use for in City Skylines. And again, if you want to see more stuff like that, absolutely let me know. I love doing videos that are like that. I love doing videos that have like a, hey, here's sort of a look at something. It's a nice change. And it's actually, to be honest, while we're placing some roads, story time, it's actually sort of where I got my start with a lot of my work on YouTube. No one really watched it when I did it years ago, but I used to do a lot of like editorial stuff and thought pieces and like review stuff, and I've done videos on like, I did a video on The Crew when it came out, and I think my last truly editorial style video probably would have been, let's think, probably would have been about like the World Health Organization talking about video game addiction as its own classifiable thing. I don't really want to bring that up as a topic in this video because, well, obvious reasons. But I think that was my last proper editorial, unless you want to talk about the Fortnite video that I did. That video went down very, very well. Oh boy. People were very happy that I did a Fortnite video. There were a lot of comments on that video. There were a lot of complaints. A lot of people saying they were unsubscribing. Oh boy. I'll be honest, on that Fortnite video, I had a lot of fun making it. I don't play Fortnite anymore, just in case you're curious. But I had a lot of fun making that video. I really had a lot of fun making that video. And seeing the response to it was, well, how can I phrase this nicely? Disappointing is, I think, how I can phrase it nicely. Because a lot of people were like, hey, if you're doing Fortnite, you're doing Fortnite videos now, I'm unsubscribing. When on that same day, I think I'd posted 2 Point Hospital and Prison Architect. So it wasn't just like a day of only Fortnite videos. There were other videos as well, but people were like, nah, bro, you're doing Fortnite only now? I'm done. I'm out of here. I was, yeah, I was a little disappointed is the word I will use. I'm also gonna go ahead and actually get back into cities here. Gonna bulldoze all this. Just this side, not the entire city center, but I want to bulldoze just this side right here. And I'll move this to right about there, I think. Because I need to be able to get access to those highways, and that bit of city was kind of in the way. So let's go ahead and bring those highways up a little bit. So we'll go from here to... We'll turn off guidelines as well, to about there. Turn the guidelines back on and go like this. And I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do this without bulldozing more of my existing city. But I think I'll manage. So just a little something something there. We'll bring this over to there. And I really hope I can... Yeah, I think I can do this, no problem.